Good morning to everyone. This is the second part of microorganism friend info, and we will continue this video with the use of microorganism in nitrogen fixation. So plants need nitrogen to build proteins, although 78% of air is nitrogen, but plants cannot use it directly. How do plants use the atmospheric nitrogen? So, some plants, leguminous plants, clods, and peanuts contain small nodules in their roots. So, these nodules contain the bacteria named rhizobium. The bacteria change atmospheric nitrogen into compound of nitrogen such as nitrates. After the season, the plants are blowed down. When the roots of these blowed down plants decompose, the nitrogen compounds stored in them are released into the soil. This enriches the soil with the vital nitrogen nutrients and make it fertile. Because of their role in nitrogen fixation, the rhizobium bacteria are called nitrogen fixing bacteria. The rhizobium bacteria and the legume plants live in a symbiotic relationship in which both are benefited from each other. The plant uses the nitrogen compounds converted by the bacteria to produce protein. The bacteria, on the other hand, get food and shelter from the plants. So, we call this process as a nitrogen cycle. We have learned that rhizobium bacteria convert the atmospheric nitrogen into the form that can be used by the plants. Then, how does the amount of nitrogen in the atmosphere remain constant at about 78%? So, nitrogen fixing bacteria convert the atmospheric nitrogen into useful forms such as nitrates and ammonia. Plants absorb nitrogen compound from the soil through their roots. When the animals eat plants, the nitrogen compound are passed into their bodies. When plants and animals die, bacteria and fungi decompose their remains and release the nitrogen compounds back into the soil. Certain bacteria in the soil convert a part of nitrogen compound into nitrogen gas. These bacteria that denitrify the soil in this way are called denitrifying bacteria. The nitrogen gas formed goes back into the atmosphere. So this keeps the amount of nitrogen in the atmosphere constant. Thus nitrogen keeps circulating in the various form of atmosphere. So the circulation of nitrogen is called nitrogen cycle. Let's study about the harmful microorganisms. Although the microorganisms are extremely useful to human health and our ecosystems, they can invade the humans, animals, and plants to cause diseases. These disease causing microorganisms are called germs or pathogens. This disease caused by microorganisms are called communicable disease. These diseases can be passed from one person to another person by transfer of microorganisms through air and water and food or by the direct contact. These certain insects which acts as a carrier of disease. Airborne infection. Bacteria and virus that infect the nasal passage or windpipe and lungs are present in the saliva and muscles. When an infected person cough or sneeze, tiny droplets or moisture carrying disease caused germs and spread it in the air. When a healthy person inhales this air, the disease causing germs enter into their body and infect them. It is advisable that the infected person cover his nose and mouth with a tissue or handkerchief while sneezing. So then, waterborne infection. Waterborne diseases are infectious diseases spread through the contaminated water. These diseases are more prevalent in areas with a poor sanitary condition. Drinking water is the common cause of spread of infection disease. They can, however, also be spread through the water used for washing or water used for cleaning fruits and vegetables, something else. And water sources like springs, rivers, lakes, ponds, or rainwater that run off into tanks can all be also be contaminated by such a matters humans and animals. Dead and decaying animals and plants can also contaminate drinking water. Then disease spread by insects and animals. There are many diseases that are not caused by insects and animals but are spread by them. They act as carriers of disease causing microorganisms like mosquitoes, flies, and mites, like that. Even dogs are also some common example of disease carrier. Mosquitoes transfer disease causing microorganisms through the saliva that comes in contact with their host. When they suck their blood, mosquitoes are carrier of microorganisms that cause disease such as malaria, dengue, and yellow fever. Biting insects are active all time of the day and night. However, some prefer different times of the day. For example, the female Anopheles mosquito that spread malaria is mainly active after the dark, but the Aedes mosquito that spread dengue is active during the day. Biting is not only the way of carriers can transmit disease. Disease may also be spread through the phases of carriers. Microorganisms could also be located on the outside surface of the carrier, such as flies, through the physical contact with the food. Then, the disease caused by the microorganisms in animals. Microorganisms cause disease in animals and plants too. Some of the disease cause them in animals. First one, anthrax, which means infectious bacteria disease in sheep and cattle. And this disease can be transmitted to humans through the meat and wool and skin of the animals also. And then foot and mouth disease. This is a viral disease in sheep and cattle, goats and deers also. Then fowlpox, virus disease in chicken and then bird flu. This is a viral disease in some birds but also spread to the humans. Then distemper. This is also a viral disease in dogs and cats. And then disease caused by microorganisms in plants. So many plants suffer from disease leading to the huge loss of crops. Most plant diseases are caused by fungi and bacteria and virus. So black stem rust caused by fungi is one of the most destructive diseases of wheat and grasses. Wheat and corn smut are also caused by fungi. This disease also spread by spores, and spores are dispersed by either wind or water that splashes into the young plants. Then citrus cancer is the disease caused by the bacterium appears on the leaves and branches and fruits of plants like lemon and orange. Citrus cancer bacteria enter through the plant's stomata and through the wound on the leaves. A virus causes disease called tobacco mosaic. It begins with a light green coloration between the veins and the young tobacco leaves. Then there is a development of mosaic and mottled pattern of the light and dark green areas on the leaves. It can be transmitted from one plant to another plant by direct contact or by human handling. Then food poisoning is the another thread of microorganism, and you might have heard of children falling sick after having a midday meal at school. This may happen for many reasons. For example, this may caused by consuming contaminated food. Food items such as meat, egg, milk, raw foods, or unwashed vegetables, or sometimes even cooked food, may contain harmful microorganisms like bacteria and fungi. These microorganisms generate toxins that make the food poisonous. Consuming such contaminated food may lead to sickness called food poisoning. Milk food poisoning lead to an upset stomach and diarrhea. So, how can we preserve our food from poisoning? Food preservation aims at preventing the spoilage of food products by either killing or inhibiting the growth of microorganisms. There are a number of different ways of preserving food. Some involve storage methods, some involves packaging, and some other methods involves treating the food in a particular way. So, here there is some food preserving method. First method, sun drying. This method is used for preserving and storing raw vegetables and certain fruits. So drying in the sun reduces the moisture content of the food material as microorganisms do not grow in drying conditions. It becomes easy to store drying vegetables like cauliflower and mint and fruits like mango, apple and peach. Then the next method is refrigeration and deep freezing. Exporting of microorganisms to low temperature reduce the rate of growth and reproduction. This principle used in the refrigeration and freezing. In refrigerators at 5 degrees Celsius food remains unspoiled. However, in freezer at minus 17 degrees Celsius, microbes may be killed. Uncooked food and meat product can be preserved in a deep preservation. Then the next method, pasteurization. This method is used of heat treatment mainly for milk. By heating milk at 70 degrees Celsius to 70 degrees Celsius for 15 seconds and then cooling it rapidly to 10 degrees Celsius, all disease-causing bacteria are destroyed. The milk which you get at the dairy booths and Tetra Pak milk which you buy from shops are packed. Then sugaring. Sugaring is used to preserve fruits such as apples and plums in a sugary syrup. Sugar dehydrates the food items, thus preventing the growth of microorganisms. Then salting. Salt is a natural food preservative that draws out moisture from the food as well as from the cells of the microorganisms that may be present in it. Lack of moisture kills the microorganisms, then hence prevent food spoilage, and salt is commonly used to preserve fish, meat and pickles. Then chemical preservation. If you look at the ingredient label of different preserved food items, you will read the names of chemicals like sodium benzoate, sorbic acid, and sodium metaphosphate and citric acid. All of these chemicals either inhabit or active of bacteria or kill them.